Ma'am, step away from the child. She's mine. That's my daughter. Step away. Now. 3 officers, 2 social workers, 1 parked SUV. No court order. No paperwork. Only suspicion that a black woman with a light-skinned child must have stolen her. In the grocery store parking lot, Tasha Raymond was tackled, handcuffed, and separated from her 6-year-old daughter for not proving motherhood fast enough. The child screamed. No one listened. And the real nightmare hadn't even started. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. Tasha Raymond had done everything right. She worked 2 jobs, paid rent on time, packed her daughter's lunch every morning with fruit and a note. Saturday was grocery day, just her and Amira. It was supposed to be simple. They had just finished shopping, eggs, apples, cereal, when a woman outside the store pointed. "Excuse me, is that your child?" the woman asked. Tasha blinked. "Yes? She doesn't look like you." Amira squeezed her hand. Tasha smiled tightly. "She takes after her father." The woman didn't move. "Can I see some proof?" "I'm sorry. You know, something official. I don't need to show you anything." The woman frowned and walked off. Tasha didn't think much of it until she reached the parking lot. 2 squad cars, lights flashing. One officer approached her door just as she was buckling Amira in. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." "What's going on?" "Step out, please." Tasha obeyed. "Calm. Careful. What's the problem?" "We got a call. Possible child endangerment. This is my daughter. Do you have proof of custody on you?" Tasha froze. "She lives with me. I'm her mother. Can you prove that?" She reached for her wallet. "Her name's on my insurance card." Hands visible. Slowly, she held the card out. The officer glanced at it. "This isn't enough." Another officer opened the back door. Amira looked up. "Don't touch her," Tasha shouted. They pushed her back. "Ma'am, step away from the child." Amira started crying. Tasha raised her hands. "Please, let me talk to her." But the second officer was already on the radio. "Notify CPS. Situation confirmed." "Confirmed what?" Tasha yelled. They didn't answer. A third officer arrived. Bigger. Louder. "We're detaining you for obstruction." "I didn't do anything." They forced her to the ground. Amira screamed louder. "Mommy." They didn't look back. At 3:17 p.m., Tasha Raymond was arrested in the middle of a grocery store parking lot. No drugs. No violence. No danger. Just her skin. Her child. And a system waiting for an excuse. The holding room smelled like bleach and dust. Tasha sat on a metal bench, her wrists still marked from the cuffs. Nobody told her where Amira was. Nobody asked if she was okay. At 5:32 p.m., a woman entered. Civilian clothes, clipboard, neutral face. "Ms. Raymond, I'm Agent Laura Kinsey. Child Protective Services." Tasha stood immediately. "Where's my daughter?" "She's safe." "Where?" "That information is confidential until placement is verified." "Placement? What does that mean?" Kinsey didn't flinch. "We've initiated emergency separation pending a custody assessment." "Based on what?" Kinsey looked at her clipboard. "A witness described a potential abduction. The responding officers found your answers inconsistent." "Because I was scared. Because I didn't know what was happening. And you had no physical proof of custody." Tasha stepped forward. "She's my child. Ask her." "We already have." Tasha froze. "What did she say?" Kinsey's eyes softened, barely. "She said you're her mommy. She also said she was scared when the officers yelled. That you were crying. That she thought you were in trouble." Tasha's voice cracked. "Because I was." Kinsey closed her folder. "We're placing her in a temporary foster setting tonight." "No. No, you can't." "Ms. Raymond, please calm down." "I am calm. You're kidnapping my daughter." Kinsey stood. "Your language is being noted." Tasha laughed bitterly. "Of course it is. Everything except the truth." Kinsey left without another word. At 7:06 p.m., a uniformed officer returned. "You're free to go?" "Just like that?" "No charges. But the CPS case remains active." "Where's my daughter?" He looked away. "You'll have to contact the agency." Outside, the street was quiet. Her car was gone. Towed. No explanation. Her phone was still inside it. She walked home. 3 miles. In the dark. In silence. By the time she reached her apartment, there was a paper on the door. Notice of emergency custodial hold. Do not remove. Signed by CPS. Inside, Amira's toys were still on the floor. The cereal from earlier sat unopened on the counter. The receipt from the store still in her purse. Tasha stood in the living room. Alone. No arrest. No record. No bruises. But her daughter was gone, and that hurt worse than any blow. At 9 a.m., Tasha stood outside the CPS office. Her hands were shaking, but her voice wasn't. "I'm here about my daughter. Her name is Amira Raymond." The receptionist barely looked up. "Do you have a case number?" "I wasn't given one." "Then I can't access the file. I was told she's in temporary placement. I need to speak to someone. You'll have to wait." She waited. 2 hours. At 11:12, a social worker appeared. Clipboard. Name tag. D. Holloway. "Ms. Raymond?" Tasha stood. "Yes. Where is my child?" "Please follow me." In a back room, they sat at a metal desk. One chair had a broken wheel. "We've begun a preliminary custody review," Holloway said. "The child has been placed with an emergency foster care family, pending risk assessment." "What risk?" Holloway read from a printed form. "Failure to verify legal guardianship during field incident. Elevated emotional state. Verbal resistance to law enforcement. Lack of immediate documentation." Tasha leaned forward. "I was grocery shopping." The officers reported concern. "That's enough to trigger emergency hold protocol. I've never been arrested. Never been in trouble." "That helps. But it doesn't cancel the process." Tasha's voice cracked. "Can I speak to my daughter?" "Not until the next review hearing." "When?" 10 business days." Tasha blinked. "That's 2 weeks." Holloway nodded. "During the time, CPS will conduct a home study, background check, and psychological evaluation." "Of me?" "Yes." "And what happens to her?" "She attends school. Remains in care." "With strangers?" "With a certified foster provider." Tasha stood. "This is punishment." Holloway didn't respond. At 2 p.m., Tasha filed a formal appeal. The clerk stamped it without looking up. Then she walked straight to the police station. She asked to speak to someone. "Anyone?" An officer in the lobby said. "It's a CPS matter now. Nothing we can do." She showed her license. Her insurance. Photos of Amira's birthday. The officer shrugged. "You didn't have that on you at the time." She stared at him. "You didn't ask." No answer. At 4:30, she returned home. There was another paper on her door. Notice of home evaluation scheduled. Thursday, 11 a.m. Failure to comply may result in permanent custody reassignment. Tasha sat on the floor, next to Amira's pink backpack. And for the first time in years, she cried. The call came at 8:14 a.m. Unknown number. "Ms. Raymond, this is the Office of Family Legal Affairs. We're calling to notify you of an upcoming petition." Tasha sat upright. "Petition for what?" "A dependency hearing has been requested." "By who?" "Child Protective Services." "What does that mean?" The voice remained flat. "They are seeking temporary legal custody of your daughter pending investigation." Tasha gripped the phone. "That's not possible. I'm her mother. You'll receive formal notice by mail." Click. She didn't wait for the letter. She went back to the CPS building. Receptionist. Wait. Another clipboard. This time, a supervisor came down. Sharp suit. Narrow eyes. "Ms. Raymond, I understand you're upset." "Don't use that word." "I'm not upset. I'm being erased." The supervisor didn't blink. "The agency has filed for protective jurisdiction based on observed indicators of instability." "What indicators?" He opened a file. Subject displayed erratic behavior during field engagement. Raised voice. Emotional volatility. Lacked verifiable guardianship documents. None of that is illegal. It is, however, sufficient for court review. You haven't asked for medical records. School records. Her father's name. Nothing. That will come during discovery. Tasha stepped forward. "Let me speak to her." "One phone call. 1 minute." The supervisor shook his head. "Not while custody is disputed." She felt something snap. "So I'm guilty. Until proven innocent." He said nothing. Later that day, she went to the courthouse. Asked for a public records terminal. Typed her own name. And there it was. Filed that morning. Raymond, Tasha, emergency custody petition. Basis, emotional instability, custodial uncertainty, risk of psychological harm to minor. She printed it. Read it. Then read it again. The officer's report was in the file. Words twisted. Suspect became agitated. Child appeared fearful. Possible fabricated relation. None of it true. But written. Filed. And already accepted by a judge. She went home. Her apartment felt different. Like it didn't belong to her anymore. At 5:42 p.m., she received a court date by email. Preliminary custody hearing. 6 days from today. Mandatory appearance. Counsel recommended. She had no lawyer, no money for one. But she wasn't leaving. She pinned the hearing notice to the wall, next to Amira's drawings, then picked up a notebook, drew a line across the first page. On one side, she wrote, "Their story." On the other, "Mine." The courthouse hallway was cold, long quiet. Tasha stood outside room 4B, alone. She wore her best clothes, clean jeans, pressed blouse, Amira's favorite color pinned at her collar. Inside, the hearing had already started. At 9:03 a.m., a clerk called her name. She stepped into the courtroom. A judge, CPS attorney, two observers she didn't recognize. No public defender. "Ms. Raymond, do you have representation?" the judge asked. Tasha shook her head. "I was told I'd be assigned someone. That request was received after the filing window. Counsel not guaranteed for pretrial." She swallowed hard. "But this hearing is about my child." The CPS attorney stood, calm, clean, precise. "Your Honor, we move for temporary jurisdiction. The child is in secure placement. The mother has demonstrated emotional instability and lacks proper documentation of sole guardianship." "That's not true," Tasha said quickly. The judge looked at her. "You'll be allowed to speak, Ms. Raymond. Please let counsel finish." She fell silent. The attorney continued. "The minor identified the respondent as mommy, but expressed fear during field interaction. That raises concern, because she saw me get tackled." "Ms. Raymond," the judge said, firm, "I have school records, vaccination reports, emergency contact forms with my name. Were those presented to CPS at the time of detention?" "No." They didn't ask. The room stayed still. The judge turned to the clerk. "Have background and home study reports been submitted?" "In progress." "Any prior allegations or complaints?" "None recorded." Tasha stepped forward. "Then why am I here? Why is she not home?" No one answered. The judge folded his hands. "Due to the lack of immediate documentation and ongoing agency evaluation, I'm granting temporary custody to Child Protective Services until further notice." Tasha's legs almost gave out. "You can't." "Ms. Raymond, this is not a termination. Only a hold. You will have an opportunity to present full documentation at the next hearing." "When?" "For weeks from today." She blinked. "For weeks?" The judge stood. "This hearing is adjourned." The gavel struck once. By 9:42 a.m., it was over. No one followed her into the hallway. She walked out slowly, every step heavy. Outside, the sun had risen. Birds chirped. The world didn't know what had just happened. But Tasha did. They hadn't just taken her daughter. They tried to erase her name from the story. She wouldn't let them. The next morning, Tasha sat at her kitchen table. No food, no phone, just a pen and a yellow notebook. She drew a line down the page. Left side, what they said. Right side, what really happened. Every detail, every lie, every silence. The paper filled fast. Then she opened her laptop. The CPS letter had included a caseworker's name, Holloway. She searched it, found a LinkedIn profile. College. Past cases. No contact info. Then she searched the attorney who spoke in court. Found a court listing. Case number. She clicked deeper. Into the county database. Under related filings, something caught her eye. Raymond versus State Custody Division, 2019. Same last name. Same judge. She clicked. Different person, a man. Same outcome. Custody revoked. Appeal denied. Tasha leaned back. Closed her eyes. Patterns. Quiet ones. By noon, she'd filled 17 pages. Then she searched court procedure. How to file an affidavit. How to request a review. How to subpoena public records. No law degree. No resources. But Tasha was a CNA certified nursing assistant. She'd spent 12 years documenting every patient file. Every injury. Every dosage. Every form. Precision was her job. Memory, her weapon. Now she used it differently. By 3 p.m., she had drafted her own statement. I, Tasha Raymond, declare under penalty of perjury that the following events occurred. She printed it, highlighted facts, numbered them, attached photos, receipts, school records. At 5:10 p.m., she walked back into the courthouse. The filing clerk glanced up. Representing yourself? For now. The woman looked at the packet. You organized all this? I don't have time to wait for help. Stamp. Accepted. Case document 0471, RM. When Tasha left, her hands were still shaking, but not from fear, from purpose. That night, she returned to her yellow notebook. New page. Title, Sequence of Retaliation. She wrote, 1. Anonymous report filed within 6 minutes of store incident. 2. Police dispatch recorded at 3:04 p.m. 3. Body cam footage not yet released. Then underlined one question. Who benefits from me losing custody? She didn't have the answer. Not yet. But she'd find it. Tuesday morning. Tasha stood in front of the CPS building. No fear this time. Just a clipboard. A folder. A copy of everything she'd filed. Inside, she walked to the front desk. I'm here to request body cam footage and agency call transcripts under the state's Public Records Act. The receptionist blinked. Are you with counsel? I'm invoking citizen access. This form is legal. The woman hesitated, then took the folder. You'll be notified within 10 days. Make it 7. I've marked the form expedited. At 11:43 a.m., Tasha visited the police department. Same request. Same form. This time, an officer called a supervisor. A man in a suit came down. You filed for footage? I want to know who accused me and what they saw. That information may be redacted. Then I want proof of the redaction decision. He stared at her. You studied law? I study systems that think people like me won't ask questions. He didn't answer. She left with a receipt of request. By 2:30 p.m., she returned to the courthouse. Filed a motion for disclosure. Cited 3 legal precedents she found the night before. A clerk checked the file. Your hearing's already set for next week. You're adding a cross motion? Yes. You sure you want to do this alone? I'm not alone. I have the truth. At 4:15 p.m., she printed and mailed 5 letters, each addressed to different oversight agencies, all titled, Inquiry into Disproportionate Custody Seizures Involving Black Mothers, Willow County, 2020 to 2024. Each letter included her file, her timeline, her name. At 6:12 p.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A calm voice spoke. Ms. Raymond, this is Evelyn Royce from State Legal Aid Intake. You sent us something today. I did. We'd like to talk further. Tasha paused. Are you offering representation? Not yet. But we're listening. Tasha looked at her wall. The custody notice still pinned there. Then listen carefully. Because I'm not just fighting for my daughter. I'm fighting for every mother you didn't listen to before me. The voice was quiet. Then, understood. Let's set up a meeting. That night, she wrote one word in her notebook. Breached. Underlined it. Then added. They noticed me. Good. Thursday, 2 days before the final hearing. Tasha received a letter from the CPS office. It wasn't official. No envelope. Just left under her door. Inside. Due to increased filing activity and public inquiries, your case is under review. Further action may be delayed. No signature. She stared at the page. They were stalling. She walked straight to the building. Walked past the front desk. Straight to the elevator. Up to the 3rd floor. Legal department. A woman stepped in front of her. Ms. Raymond, you can't be here without an appointment. Tasha held up a folder. I'm here to deliver a motion to compel production. You're out of time. The woman reached for it. I'll take that. I'll deliver it myself. She stepped past her. Inside, a group of staff stood around a table. Papers everywhere. Someone looked up. That's her. No one said her name, but everyone knew. Tasha placed the folder on the desk. You filed against me using falsified language. I've submitted comparison reports to the State Oversight Board. One man stepped forward. Ms. Raymond, we understand your frustration. No, you don't. But you will. She turned to leave. Another voice followed her. You're building a case, aren't you? She didn't stop walking. I already built it. Back home, she opened her inbox. New message. Subject. Request for mediation discussion, Willow County Council. They wanted to talk. She didn't answer. The next day, she received a call. CPS attorney. Calm, rehearsed. Ms. Raymond, in light of new documentation, we're considering a conditional reunification agreement. She paused. What conditions? Parenting classes. Home visits. Weekly check-ins. Tasha smiled. So I can have my daughter back, if I agree I'm broken. Silence. Decline. I'll see you in court. Click. That night, she prepared her exhibit binder. Numbered tabs. Color-coded sections. One for the judge. One for the clerk. One for herself. Each page labeled. Inaccuracy. Manipulation. Contradiction. She printed a photo of Amira. Slipped it into the front cover. then packed it into her bag, and slept, for the first time in days, without fear. Monday, 9 a.m. Courtroom 6. Tasha walked in holding a black binder. No lawyer, no notes, no fear. The judge looked up. Ms. Raymond, are you prepared to proceed? Yes, Your Honor. The CPS attorney stood, voice even. Your Honor, we maintain our motion to extend custody jurisdiction. The judge turned to Tasha. Do you have a response? She opened her binder. I do. She stepped forward. Calm. Controlled. First, I present the original officer report. It states I lack documentation. But here's my daughter's insurance card with my name. A photo of it in my wallet. They never asked. Tab 2. This is CPS's internal report. It says Amira expressed fear. But I submit her pediatric file. No signs of distress before or after. Just a note from the caseworker. Child appears alert and talkative. Tab 3. This is the emergency hold notice. It claims I was combative, but I have the dispatch log. No escalation reported. No charges filed. No force noted until after I was handcuffed. Tab 4. Finally, this is a sworn statement from my neighbor, who's known us for 7 years. She confirms Amira has lived with me since birth. Never missed school. Never unsupervised. She handed the judge a copy. The courtroom was silent. The CPS attorney shifted. Your Honor, while we don't dispute her preparation, we remain concerned about her emotional conduct. Tasha didn't wait. Concern is not evidence. The judge looked at her, then at the folder. Ms. Raymond, your documentation is thorough. You've provided what the agency failed to request. The CPS attorney tried again. We request monitored reunification at minimum. Tasha spoke clearly. You had 6 weeks. You found nothing. I want my daughter home. Today. Silence. The judge folded his hands. I'm terminating the temporary custody order. Reunification is approved, effective immediately. Tasha inhaled. Once. Sharp. Amira will be released to you this afternoon. CPS supervision is no longer required. The gavel dropped. By 10:21 a.m., it was over. Tasha walked out of the courtroom, down the steps, into the sun. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She walked like someone who had never left. Because now, they all knew. She was never supposed to lose. Amira was waiting in a small room with a window too high to see out of. Tasha stood at the door, binder still in her hands. The CPS aide opened it gently. She's inside. Tasha stepped through. Amira looked up, eyes wide. Frozen. Mommy? Tasha dropped the folder. I'm here, baby. The child ran across the room. No hesitation. No pause. They held each other. 10 seconds. No words. Only breath. Only arms. Only home. At 3 p.m., they walked out together. No escort. No press. No crowd. Tasha's car had been impounded. So they walked, hand in hand, grocery bag swinging at her side. At home, Amira ran to the fridge. You still got the apple juice? Always. That night, Tasha unpacked the binder, removed the documents. She placed each one in a fireproof box, labeled it. If they come again, she didn't celebrate. There was no joy in surviving something that should never have happened. But there was peace. 3 days later, an envelope arrived. From the same courthouse. Inside. Custody order closed. No further review required. She pinned it on the fridge, right above Amira's latest drawing. A picture of a house, and a woman standing in front of it, wearing a cape. Tasha smiled. I don't need a cape, baby. You had one, Amira said. They just couldn't see it. That evening, Tasha sat on the porch. No reporters. No applause. Just wind. She opened her notebook one last time, wrote a final line. They built the trap. I walked through it, and I made them carry it after me. She closed it, and never looked back. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.